Do you like basketball? Basketball 농구? I like, but I'm not good at. Yes, I'm not.
Me too.
Things I downloaded last night. I have to my entire NBA draft clipping process has gotten thrown off because the website it's a whole thing. But I had to download NBL games last night, and it didn't even download the whole thing. It downloaded 41 minutes of it. So I cleared my space. So hopefully that does it.
I did the same thing with I didn't download it, but John Cusack's High Fidelity. I was on a site and I opened it up and I love that movie. I was just rewatching it and I was like, damn, this movie is only an hour and 10 minutes long. That's crazy. Like that's like such a great short movie. And then I got to the hour 10 mark and it just cut off. It was not the end of the movie. So I had to go find it in a different place. Shout out to that movie. It's incredible. Shout out to patreon.com/state of the league. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the State of the League podcast, the only NBA podcast that does 3 intro recordings because we just love you guys that much. We want to make sure. Third time's the charm. And I could make I was gonna do like, we did 2 takes because we're talking about the 2 spot. We're talking about the shooting guards, the top 10 shooting guards, but we did 3, and so now we have to talk about the top 10 small forwards. Just kidding. Today we are breaking down the NBA's top 10 shooting guards. I'm your host, Jack, aka joestar. With me, as always, the world-famous Pablo Escobar, world famous for being stupid and having idiotic criteria about top 10 positionally in the NBA. I mean, if you can't bake pastries the correct way, you can't be a shooting guard for Pablo. If you can't build a Lego set in the right amount of time, you can't be a point guard for Pablo. So it's just a little ridiculous, but this is what we're working with. I couldn't find a substitute in time, so we're stuck with him. How are you doing today, Pablo?
I'm under attack. Death Grip 1202. He said, Pablo's take here is a perfect example of why America is a failing country. I will not explain further. Argeezy. He said my criteria for a point guard being someone who guards a point guard is outdated, and not having Luka on the list is obscene. I'm facing more scrutiny than I ever have in my entire life.
It is.
And you know what? I've got a question for everybody. Everyone's upset about Luka. Why is no one upset about Jokic then? Why is he not a point guard?
What about him?
Why is he a center? Why is he not a point guard?
Big.
He runs the offense.
Big.
Passes.
Big.
Why? But really, you had Luka on the list. Why wouldn't you have Jokic on the list?
He's big.
Luka's big.
Luka's not that big. Luka's
how big you gotta be?
6'10", 6'9". Bam's 6'9". So
I was gonna say, is Bam a point guard?
No.
Şengün's not a point guard.
Well, okay. To be fair, I put zero thought into any positions anymore because really, positions haven't mattered for 10 years. It does not matter. Like, it matters what you do on the court, but where you're listed, who gives a fuck? And so, yeah, like if you wanted to call Jokic a point guard and really dig your heels in there, I don't care. The same way, like, I'm sure we're talking about shooting guards today. Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, have them both on my list. I don't care. So positionally, we're doing this just to like talk about the league's best players and kind of fill time in the off season. I don't care about like where a player slots in, really. Like, theoretically, if you were doing the Toronto Raptors shit before they traded Siakam and OG, where it's just like we have Jakob Poeltl and then everyone else on the floor is 6'8", 6'10", that's fine. And like you could say that Scotty Barnes is the point guard there, but it doesn't matter to me.
It doesn't matter to me either, but the people are upset with me, and I'll tell you what. Comment down below your criteria for what counts as a point guard. I'll update my list to it. Why is Zion not a point guard? We call him Point Zion. There's so many. It can't just be everyone who runs the offense, and that's why it's easiest to just specify for me by who who guards who, and I don't even think that's outdated because that's not how they used to do it. It's really the entire NBA in my mind is just sorted into guard, big wing, and then you have different jobs on offense and defense. You could be an initiator on offense, point of attack defender on defense, blah blah blah. So
Yeah. If we were being really real, we would just do like top 50 NBA players straight up, and we would just talk about like 10 at a time. But we're weenies. We're not like those geniuses over at ESPN who yeah, Herb Jones 97, perfect. I have no comments on it. Jonas Valanciunas 91, CJ McCollum 84. We definitely didn't just watch those guys all be on the same team and two of them be borderline dog shit at points, while one of them was like the entire basis for them existing defensively.
Well, Herb Jones is paid the least out of those guys. And so you got to think the NBA is run by math people, by actuaries, and by billionaires who've made billions in other businesses. So they're actually really smart business math people. So Herb Jones wouldn't be making less money than those guys if he was a better player. So you actually have to think about it from a smart guy way.
Hey, he's getting paid more than Jonas now.
Is he actually?
Yeah, he's getting about 13 mil annually. Which is fucking highway robbery. But Jonas Valanciunas is getting 10 million from the Wizards. He's like 3 years, 30 mil.
In my mind, the Herb Jones contract was like $2 million. In my mind, it's just like, this is the biggest steal in the history of basketball.
Which like it pretty much is, because it's 4 years and it starts this year. So 3 years from now, realistically, how much will $12 million be of the cap space?
Who is going to be the worst player making over $50 million in 3 years?
Oh, it'll be like someone extremely mid. I don't have a name off the top of my head, but like
will Mathurin be making 50 million?
I think so. It all depends on like when everything spikes and how like he looks this year. But whenever he's extension eligible, he's the kind of guy that like other rebuilding teams are like, hey, we'll take him if you let him hit restricted. We'll max him, and then you'll be in trouble. So yeah, it's just ridiculous. All right, how do you want to do? Do you want to start with honorable mentions this time, or do you want to start 1, go down to 10, and then finish with the guys who didn't make our list?
I say we start at the top. We start at 1.
All right. Well, I mean, we're going off your I like the way your mind works. We don't argue enough on this show, so we have to polarize the audience in different ways. And sometimes you gotta be crazy to do.
Why is Shea a point guard, but Booker's not? Booker's a better passer.
They got Tyus Jones, baby.
Oh my God.
Their offense was clunky.
No one complained about Harden. He's just straight. I couldn't believe Harden averaged 16 points a game last year. I did not realize that.
Yeah. All right. I kind of forgot about Harden in the point guard episode, I guess. But who gives a shit? Again. So is Shea your number 1 shooting guard?
Yes.
All right.
6'5" off guard. Yeah.
6'5" off guard. Nice. Off guard.
Off guard. Oh, Davion didn't make this list. Crap. Honorable mention.
Davion Mitchell. All right. I did the same thing that I did with the point guards. I kind of wrote down like a question I have about everybody going into the season. So with Shea, my question is, can we get the efficiency to like otherworldly levels with the removal of Josh Giddey from this offense, where he was at just under 64% true shooting, which is incredible already. But like, you are removing one of the worst offensive presences in the NBA from your team for a guy who like only needs a sliver of daylight to succeed. And you're bringing in one of the best screeners in the NBA, who should allow him to like just have automatic trips to a couple different mid-range spots that he really likes, like a Hartenstein pick and roll. Shea's not the most effective pick and roll ball handler in the league. And that's like I want that action to be really prolific, but even just Hartenstein screen and doing whatever, Shea should have some open looks at like tough twos. And then you're also bringing in Caruso, who is a 40% 3-point shooter and great connective passer. So I think like when you compare him to Luka, Luka is better offensively, and I think that kind of contributes this whole idea of a guard's defense isn't quite as impactful as like a big guy's defense. So people will default to the guy who is clearly better offensively in a comparison like this. If you could bump Shea up to like 65, 66% true shooting, maybe that gap closes a bit and people begin to entertain Luka versus Shea discussions a little bit more this year. But simultaneously with Luka, like I predict he'll be on like revenge tour pilled type shit. So maybe he will also take a step forward and the conversation will remain exactly the same. What do you think about all that?
It'll always be hard, probably, for me to conceptualize Shea versus Luca, just because it's so ingrained in me to value the passing and to value
Yeah.
the guy who runs the offense. And Shea is never going to be what Luca is on that end. But I mean, you could definitely argue Shea is a better scorer. I don't have any stats pulled up, but I know like Shea is one of the most prolific finishers in NBA history, especially for a 6'5" guard. Like the
Yeah.
amount he gets to the rim is absolutely nuts. The free throws are nuts. The free throw percentage is nuts. Like he's like high 80%, 90% free throw shooter, right? So
Yeah.
this is a guy who gets to the rim at a super high level, like always at the top of the league in drives. He finishes there at a super elite level. He makes free throws and he draws fouls and makes the free throws at a super elite high level. His mid range, I don't know the percentage, but I would guess it's pretty good. I would guess it's really good.
Yeah.
And then the only holdup for him has been 3-point shooting, which has gone up and down and has never been a high volume weapon. But even that has been 40% like at some point. And like he's definitely not a guy you can sag off of. So he's one of the most dangerous scorers in the NBA, and he's just a complete monster. And on top of that, he's making things happen on defense, which separates him from a lot of the other offensive juggernauts in the league. So yeah, the Shea, it's hard to compare him to some of the top guys in the league, but really it's hard to, if anyone want to throw him high up in their rankings, it's hard to be like, no, you're crazy for that, you're stupid, because there's just very little evidence out there telling us that this guy's bad at anything.
Yeah. So he leads the league in drives at 23.3. He's taking 10 and a half shots on those, averages 16.5 points on his drives, and he shoots 57% from the field on those. Comparatively, Giannis, I don't know his points off the top of my head, but I remember Giannis is at like 10.1 drives a game, and he shoots 61% on those. But I think that gives you like a good frame of reference for how prolific a guy who, like, Giannis does just that, and he's one of the most dominant offensive players the league has ever seen.
And he's a foot taller.
Yeah. And so you give a guy who's like, I mean, really creating like 80% of that on drives while being a spectacular mid-range shot creator, effective from the outside, and then like really effective when he gets to the line. When you look at like effective field goal percentage and shit on these drives, that's where Giannis kind of gets brought down, as he's like 69, 70% on these free throws, whereas Shea obviously closer to 90. So yeah, I mean, just one of the most prolific offensive players in the league. I expect him to have another really good year. It wouldn't surprise me if so. OKC has continually drawn comparisons to the Celtics with the way that they upgraded their roster, and they're looking to be like really balanced, just overwhelming offensive team. And when we saw that with Tatum in Boston, that's where he went from like 30 points per game in 2023 to just under 27 in 2024, when they kind of took that balanced offensive approach. And I don't know, I assume his assists probably went up a little bit, and Shea's might as well. But yeah, I don't think like 32 points per game, it could happen again. Like, their offense isn't going to have these huge like structural reconfigurations. It's just that Chet has another year under his belt. J-Dub has another year under his belt. You've brought in two really capable offensive guys, offensive play finishers, at least in Caruso and Hartenstein. So the opportunity might get spread around a little bit more. And in the playoffs, you'll probably see them default to Shea more. But over the course of the regular season, I don't know if his averages will be quite what they were last year.
Yeah, even if the volume goes down, if the efficiency spikes, it really won't impact my opinion of him at all.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like when I look for that efficiency stuff, like if he's at 20, 28, 29, and at that like 65% true shooting, which that's like Steph and centers, and not even Steph last year. Steph was at like 62. Shea was already more efficient than him. So that's like just big man efficiency range, that 65 mark. So I would love to see him hit it. That would be super cool. Again, I would have had Shea on my point guards list. So realistically, my list starts at 2, because now I feel like when I'm looking at like the players I would have at, 3 and 4, if Shea is number 1 on this list, then I could see people starting to get a little bit upset. So who do you have at number 2?
Anthony Edwards.
Oh, okay. All right. That's totally fair. Give me the shtick.
Do you think there's a vocal portion of people that would be mad that he's not number 1? Are there people that think he's better than Shea?
No. I just think there are people who are happy that Shea is considered a point guard by people like me who don't think about it, so that Anthony Edwards can have that number 1 spot. Because
that's what I'm thinking. Like, do they just want that? Is that why people are
there's a like big coalition of people that if you really pressed them on it, that would be their answer. But regardless, Anthony Edwards number 2, if Shea is in this conversation, I'm on board with that. I think Ant was great last year, spectacular in the playoffs. But yeah, just a level below where Shea was with the Thunder.
Let's see. How many assists did Anthony Edwards average last year?
I guess
it
5.3.
It was 5.1.
Okay.
What did Shea average last year?
6.2.
Oh, 6 is the cutoff.
6 is the cutoff. That's funny.
Edwards, yeah. I think Edwards is the better defender of the two. I don't know if his steal and block numbers are as prolific.
His steals definitely aren't, but he's definitely a better shot blocker than Shea.
And I think he's just straight up better on ball. Like when he's fully engaged, I think he's better, just straight up.
Yeah.
In isolation defense. I don't know about team defense. But when it comes to finishing, Edwards is a guy where I think the finishing is not quite as good as it can be, just by virtue of settling for more jumpers than he maybe could or should, or maybe I don't know. It depends on what you want. Because he takes a lot of mid-range shots.
Yeah, we've got some math. So from the playoffs all the way through this preseason, including the Olympics, I don't have it right in front of me, but some guy tracked it. He's at like 1.2, 1.3 points per possession on all of his jump shots. So these are like offensive contexts that are really different. The Olympics are super different from what the NBA looks like. Preseason is fake NBA shit's not canon. But the playoffs looked really good. And so if that's the reality of who he is like not even elite jump shooting, like maybe it regresses a bit, but like if he's, passable, solid jump shooter, while remaining the athlete that he is, it's going to be hard. Like, I think realistically, I would set the ceiling at him like matching Shea this year. I don't know if like he could like leapfrog where Shea even was last year. Like if he got to that tier, then it'd be crazy.
The problem is like I'm always going to want him to play more like Shea. I'm always going to want him to be at the top of the league in drives and just live at the free throw line. Because like if Shea could do it, why can't you do it? And obviously they both are top tier physical freaks, but they have different styles. Like Shea is just slimy, just going
jerky,
around.
baby.
Yeah. So And then, so every time Edwards takes a mid-range pull-up, I'm always going to be like, But then in the playoffs, he just stopped missing them entirely. And I was like, okay, all the Mambalytics, he cooked. Hoop ball don't stop, he cooked. You got to be able to hit the mid-range pull-up. That's the entire thing with Anthony Edwards. If he's shooting like Steph Curry, then he's in any conversation you want to be, but it just wasn't consistent over the playoffs. So I think we'll get some more clarity for how good of a shooter he actually is during this season. And then if he is shooting that well, obviously super talented finisher, super talented defender, and he's been progressing as a passer his entire career. So just very, very good player.
Yeah. So the question I did with him was just like, is this jump shooting that I just talked about, is that real? And what can he do to make the Randall transition as seamless as possible? Because Randall's a super polarizing player. We're not incredibly high on him. I don't think like he's dog shit offensively. I think he does a lot of interesting stuff, and he's going to be playing regardless. So like I think Anthony Edwards, he shot 41% on 2.1 catch and shoot attempts last year. I would like to see that go up because I think Randall will be good at like attracting guys to the rim. I don't know what his finishing numbers are going to look like, but throughout his entire career since he became like an all-star guy, that's been something that has been a theme for him. It's just like he can get into the paint and attract 2 or 3 guys around him and kick it out to an open player. And so I think that will be really good for Anthony Edwards, on top of the fact that last regular season he was 33% on 4.5 pull-up three-pointers a game. So that goes back to your point that like those possessions, even if he's like average at those, it still does feel like a bit of a bailout for the defense, where if you're, settling into your stance and you see Anthony Edwards bringing the ball up the floor, you're like, oh shit, oh my God, he's about to do something superhuman athletically that I have no answer for. And then you see him like dip the ball into his pocket and start to pull up. You probably breathe a little sigh of relief. Like you're still contesting super hard and everything, but yeah, it's like if you're a defense, obviously this hurt the Nuggets in the playoffs, this butchered the Suns in the playoffs, the idea that you can like live with an Anthony Edwards jump shot. But over the course of last regular season, that was closer to the truth. And so that's something that I'll be looking into this year as well. Yeah, other than that, I mean, he's a great, great driver. I wrote down, of the guys who played 50 plus games last year, took 10 or more drives and averaged 10 or more points on those, only Anthony Edwards, Shea, Luka, Giannis, and DeMar DeRozan shot 53% or better on those. Anthony Edwards was at like 53.8. And to be honest, of that group, his field goal percentage was the lowest. Like I used his as the cutoff mark, but still, it's a crazy group to be involved in, even if you're like the lowest guy there.
Yeah, wait, DeMar DeRozan, the point guard?
Yeah, I guess. 55% on 10 drives a game. He was pretty nice.
Yeah, so I'm on Dunks and Threes. Shout out Dunks and Threes. They have Anthony Edwards last year. I think this is last year, right? This is not playoff stats. I don't know. 39.7% from mid-range, and that's the 38th percentile. Shea was at 50.7%. That's 93rd percentile. Yeah, this regular season. So yeah, it's when Shea goes for the mid-range, I'm like, oh. When Anthony Edwards does it, I'm like, oh. But then in the playoffs, I was like, oh. But so I wanna have the right ooze for the rest of his career. Yeah. But yeah, franchise player monster.
It's interesting because like visually when you watch them, it does feel kind of the reverse, where it's like you in my monkey brain, I'm like, Shea, the slithery herky jerk guy, he likes the mid-range more than like getting to the rim, getting to the free throw line. Anthony Edwards, this huge physical presence, like 6'7", really strong, really just traditionally explosive athlete. That's the guy you would expect to love to get to the rim and love to get to the free throw line. In practice, it's reversed. And so that's definitely a spot that with age, when we talk about Anthony Edwards at like 25, 26, 27-year-old,
he'll have 25 kids by then.
Yeah, holy shit, he'll have an entire generation. He could add tendencies like that. Like, it's not impossible to figure out how to slow down your game a little bit. Will he ever be as good as like Shea is right now? Probably not, just because Shea is like the best in the league at that kind of stuff. He's doing it at a historic level, but I think even if he gets to like most of what Shea is doing, then that's like a terrifying player. When people talk about like prime Anthony Edwards as this guy who has the potential to be the best in the league, it's very apparent when you imagine him adding that shit to his bag.
Yeah, ultimately, just for the next few years, pull up less, pull out more.
Hey, nice. A slogan for Timberwolves fans. You can chant that, and on all the signs when thousands of you bring them to the Minnesota Timberwolves games, you put at State of the League podcast at the bottom. That would be really cool.
Anthony Edwards should get a vasectomy sponsorship and be like the face of pro athlete vasectomies, because you could get a reverse later, right?
Yeah.
Hey, reach out, Anthony Edwards. They might give you a bag.
There you go. All right. So Anthony Edwards 2. I'm on board with that. Who's 3 for you?
Devin Booker.
We're in agreement. Again, do you think the gap between Shea and Ant is bigger than the gap between Ant and Booker?
I don't know. I feel like Booker's with these guys more so than the number 4. I feel like is a drop off, like tier wise.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Devin Booker is so good, and like if we had this conversation, like let's say Devin Booker in the offseason last year, car accident, and then he's fine, but then an eagle flies by, rips his Achilles out, so then he misses the entire year. Where would you have him higher with these guys? When, because that was his last like playoff explosion, right? Like if his last basketball you saw was against the Nuggets, or is that longer ago?
No. So like no Timberwolves series for Booker.
Yeah, so
is what
no
you're
last year
implying?
at all. Yeah.
Okay. I think I would probably still have it this order, because the reasons that Booker would be there would be really similar to the reasons that we like Anthony Edwards so much, in terms of like how great he just was in the playoffs and everything.
Mhm.
Like Booker, I mean, that was like the argument for Booker back then. Because we hadn't necessarily seen as much of the Kevin Durant experiment. Like we hadn't seen this whole lineup, and we hadn't seen it not work out super well. So we were more relying on that sample size of like them hitting their ceilings in the playoffs and giving the Nuggets probably their toughest series en route to the championship. I know it definitely went the longest because the Heat lost in 5 and then they swept the Lakers. So yeah, it was the Suns, and they had them on the ropes before like Booker and Kevin Durant just got tired, because I mean, it's really hard to carry that big of an offensive load. But yeah, I agree. I do think he's like the same tier as these two guys. It's just going to be hard. Like, I don't think the team success with Phoenix is really going to be there. And so you're going to have to adopt some specific angles if you're someone who wants to argue Devin Booker is the best shooting guard in the league. I don't care that the Suns are like 3 games over 500 and horrific on defense or whatever. You'll have to dip into the EPM shit a little bit more.
The funny thing with Booker is when he gets super hot making jump shots, like when he spends an entire playoff series not missing, I'm like, okay, this is actually real. This is what he was supposed to be the whole time. Like this is it's finally happening. I've been waiting for this since Kentucky. So this is gonna just go on for the rest of the time. With Anthony Edwards, I'm like, he doesn't look like Klay
It's
Thompson
the same.
shooting.
You got another comment that cooked you, where they were like, okay, so Ja doesn't have to prove anything, but Brunson does because of the sample size. Low key. I kind of agree. It's not like Ja's.
How is that? Ja
like
has
Ja's
played
playoff.
way more basketball. No,
I mean, he's played like one more season at that level, I would say.
Hasn't he had 3 playoff runs?
Yeah, but like they were all first. And you know what? Let me chill. I don't need Brunson to prove it to me that much more. But let's get back to the shooting guard discussion.
In 2021, Ja averaged 30 points, 30 and 8 in the playoffs. What are we
Oh my
doing?
god!
Jalen Brunson is new.
How many
I'm
games?
valid.
How
for
many
that.
games was that? 6.
5. Hey,
All
and
right.
you know what? Brunson back then is a nice little spark plug guy. And we'll see
And
what
now he
if he
is. He's
turns
this
out.
gargantuan spark plug for a nuclear power plant that is the New York Knicks. Although I don't even know how I feel about them. Let's keep it pushing. Let's keep it pushing. So Booker.
I think he's the best passer out of these guys of Edwards and SGA. He's the prettiest shooter. I don't know how effective it is, but he has been shooting great.
Yeah.
And he's not even like he's probably the worst defender out of this group, but he's not even. I don't even think he's a bad defender. I think when he's locked in, he can be pretty good on the ball. And then finishing, yeah. Let me. I don't know what his finishing is.
He's a great slasher. I wrote down something about it. So yeah, 13 drives a game, 9 points per game on 55% shooting. So he just missed that group of DeMar, obviously, but then Shea, Luca, and Giannis. Like if we lowered it to 9 points or whatever field goal attempts, he would be in there. And the eye test passes that as well. Like he's a really exceptional almost blend of Anthony Edwards and Shea, where like he's really patient with his drives, but he's also really fast, and he has a little bit more heft to him than Shea does, where as opposed to like finding cracks in the defense and slithering around them, he's not afraid. He can any point guard, he can bump hard. Most shooting guards, he can bump hard. He can bang in the post with fucking small forwards or whatever. In a way that Shea, you don't like see as much of that on his drives. So yeah, really good at getting to the rim. And I would expect like more of that. I want at this point, it doesn't feel good for me to see the offensive load split 50-50 between him and KD. He's 28 years old. He's a superstar. I want him to be like clear number one option, highest usage rate, all of that stuff. And then to have the rest of the offense kind of follow suit.
So dunks and threes, they got him at 65.8%. I'm rounding that to 66 at the rim.
Nice.
70th percentile. 50.6% mid-range. We forgot he's the most elite mid-range guy, maybe. And then 36% from 3 last year. So not as good as
but
it
looked great. It looked great.
Oh, it looks so pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Devin Booker is really just a complete monster as well. And really it might sound disrespectful right now to some people to like talk about him with Shea and Edwards, but really that would just take one playoff run to correct. And will that playoff run come? Probably not, because they won't be good. But yeah, Devin Booker is great.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said as far as like passing and defense goes. I think defense from the 4th spot down, the blend of two-way play is lost. I won't say just defense because I have.
Wait, is your 4th spot a good defender or no?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm just saying from like 4 down, this level of like elite offensive player that is like a high level defender. I like Booker a lot defensively when he's engaged. I think if you put him into that Minnesota situation or OKC, even like they've got a ton of tools defensively, he would not really bring them down all that much. Like they might lose a step or two, but he's damn good on the defensive end. Number 4 is not though. I assume we're looking at one Donovan Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Let me timestamp. Oh fuck, I didn't timestamp Booker. God damn it, I'm gonna have to go back and find that. Oh well, D Mitch at 34 minutes. What do you have?
Donovan Mitchell. He used to be good defensively, and then he was tragic defensively, and then I think Cleveland fans will they're passionate about it. They'll be like, he's okay now.
Yeah.
He's not as bad as he used to be. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell is a guy who I wanted really, really hard to be with those top three guys, but the past couple of years, it's just showing, I think, that his size is more of a limiting factor than originally thought. But he's just a nuclear athlete. In the regular season, when Cleveland just made it the Donovan Mitchell show, they were the best team in the East, or like one of the best teams in the entire league.
Mhm.
He's just a guy who can get downhill and finish at a super high rate. He's a really prolific pull-up three-point shooter. He's also a really good passer. Like this is a guy who was leading really high finishing Utah Jazz offenses for years. And then I don't know what these Cleveland teams have finished, but like Donovan Mitchell's just a straight up offensive engine. And the only drawback is that it hasn't shown up as consistently in the playoffs. So
Yeah.
um
And to be
it,
fair, he was hurt in these playoffs. He was not 100%. But even with what he's like displayed and struggled with in the past, I don't know if the Boston series like really he looks that much better if he's 100%. Like that's still just like a really tough matchup for him. And it would be for Booker and Anthony Edwards too. And probably I think Shea would deal with it the best, but yeah, just overall his playoff sample not quite where these other guys are at. And then when you talk about fan bases being like he's engaged this year on defense, he's trying, he's moving around. That to me is indicative of a tier of defender that is really bad. Where you hear that, I mean, you heard it about Trey. I'm sure we will hear it about Halliburton over the next 2 or 3 years. You hear it about Luka whenever guys on that level, and I don't know if Mitchell is that bad, try on defense, it becomes a talking point for people who want to push that player as high as they can go. Is that he's not a nightmare defensively because he's in a stance and he's moving around and shit. And that just doesn't always mean that he's actually playing good defense.
yeah, so and then another thing with him is like the on ball off ball stuff. Like we know he's elite offensive regular season engine on the ball in the regular season, but if he's not that in the playoffs and then he's not as effective off the ball, like playing off of other guys, then like how high can you be?
I have a question. Do you think the fit with like Devin Booker or Anthony Edwards next to Darius Garland, especially last year's version of Darius Garland, would that be that much better? Because I feel like everybody would kind of struggle with that fit. Like if you compare Garland, it's not even fair to be like Garland versus Durant as off-ball players. Obviously, Durant fucking washes him there. And then Minnesota, it's a tough offensive situation anyways, so it's not like Anthony Edwards has some huge advantage over Mitchell. He just gets like, I don't know, the hierarchy is very clear where Anthony Edwards is on the ball all the time. It's this interesting problem where I don't know. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the league's best two guards would struggle with the version of Garland that was playing last season.
I think I think Darius Garland did not do him any favors. But I think it's just easier for guys who are a little bit bigger to make impacts as cutters and stuff like that.
And
So
rebounding as well,
yeah,
which like nobody's a dominant rebounder here, but yeah, off the ball if you're short, um and I mean Mitchell could be like a cutter lob threat with his athleticism, but you don't see it materialize very often.
it's hard to be a consistent lob threat at that size, even with the athleticism.
Yeah,
And then, but yeah, he like theoretically should be a monster cutter, but I just don't know if that's happened yet. Maybe it'll happen.
maybe I would love to go. I don't remember off the top of my head, but like Jared Allen. So when it was the Donovan Mitchell show with Jared Allen anchoring the defense, I
Oh, what a
wonder.
dream.
Oh, dude, it was so sick. And that's my big question
Sam
overall.
Merrill's in the G League, I think.
Get him, somebody fucking rescue him, dude. Oh my god, that's ridiculous.
The Pistons, Orlando, guys need a shooter.
Guys, he's nuclear. You could make Sam Marillions of dollars. So yeah, like the whole thing with Donovan Mitchell this year is just like, can we get a full season of Cleveland functioning at a high level? And I don't know if we will, because he has gone on record. I like Darius Garland. Darius Garland's not going anywhere. This is our core. This is who we're moving forwards with. I don't think the recipe is good. Similar to Phoenix, to a lesser extent. Like, I think they have a lot more of the pieces to a really good team and a few tweaks to, yeah, like if Garland is there or not. If Jared Allen or Evan Mobley, like if you just pick one to build around, a few tweaks, I think they're way closer to being a good team than Phoenix is. But I don't love the recipe. Oh my god, I have a one Wi-Fi bar. Can you see me still good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Is there? Are you holding out any hope for the rest of his career that we'll see the same Donovan Mitchell from the bubble?
What didn't he have 50 against Orlando in game 6 or 7 or something?
I think he did.
Yeah, I think the bubble was more okay. So yeah, he had 50 in game 6 to force it to games. Or wait, they lost. They lost his 50-point game. Okay, that's what it was.
Did they score 70 in total or something?
I would assume so. Let me check this shit. 96. So he had
horrible series to watch.
Yeah. I think the bubble was kind of like this perfect scenario where the Nuggets they had no answer for each other. Like the Jokic Murray action, the Jazz really had no prayer of stopping that, and you got like an incredible jump shooting series out of Murray. And then similarly, Denver had no answer for what Donovan Mitchell was doing offensively. And so if you get into another series like that, yeah, I think his scoring upside is like the same. Yeah, it's at those same heights, but I don't know. I've just kind of lost this faith where any matchup, regardless, the way I feel about Jokic, the way I feel about Shea, really at this point, like I feel like he's automatic high level scorer, regardless of who you put in front of him. Luka, Giannis at one point, the recipe has been broken down a little bit. Like if you can build a wall, he's going to struggle. I just don't feel like Donovan Mitchell is like this automatic path to like high efficiency 32 points per game for a playoff series. I think it is a little bit matchup dependent, even though he's like still one of the best offensive players in the world. But yeah.
That's number 4, number 5.
Let me see. A little timestamp. Oh, okay. All right. I hope we're in the same spot because you swerved me on him a little bit. I won't lie. You like put me on. Say the name.
James Harden.
Oh, I put Desmond Bane.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I have Desmond Bane at 6.
Okay, so let's do Harden first.
Wait, do you have Harden as a 2 guard, or did you have him as a point guard who just didn't make it?
He should have been in my top 10 point guards. I just wasn't really thinking about him that much. But I'm fine with him being, again, I don't care about any of this. I'll talk about Harden for 10 minutes at any given opportunity.
So straight up, Harden versus Bane.
I think Bane better defensively. Obviously, Harden washes as a playmaker. And probably as an offensive player. I haven't gotten a look at like James Harden catch and shoot stats, but he's an incredible shooter.
But Bane is better. Bane's elite.
Yeah, I think so. If the question is just like,
well, I guess Bane is a better off-ball shooter, and I think Harden's still a better. I think Harden is like 38% on high volume last year as well.
Yeah, I think if the question is just like who could be like better second, third option on a real contender,
Here,
it's
I'll
Bane.
give you the scenario. I'll give you the
All right,
scenario.
all right.
The Wizards are in a play-in game, and you get to go to it in person, and they come to you before the game. They say, Mr. Star, we have the chance to add one of two players to beat a nameless, faceless team.
Okay.
James Harden or Desmond Bane, you have to pick right now.
James Harden.
Okay.
I think like the upside for like a 35-10 game with like one game of Harden, yeah, he's an incredibly good player still, and I think he with the Wizards, like floor raising scenarios, I think Harden is better. Offensive engine shit, I think Harden is better. But I think we're getting into the tier of player now where it might be better to have somebody who is good at defense and great at playing off of a Ja Morant or whoever.
Yeah, this is the first one where it's like complimentary guy versus lower tier offensive engine. And like I said, he averaged 16 points a game last year, which is crazy. I wonder if that will scale up because Paul George is gone, because Paul George played a lot. They all played a lot in the regular season last year, correct?
Let me pull up the Clippers just like
Yeah.
page and shit.
S-
So
But yes,
Harden. Sorry, you go, Cook.
I was just I was just gonna kill time till you had it.
Okay, I got it. Paul George 74 games, Harden 72 games, Kawhi 68 games, and then you also get 76 games of Norm Powell, which like that's not
Oh,
massive taking shots away from Harden or anything, but it's another guy who's like a capable scorer with the ball in his hands. Damn, he was 44% on 5 threes a game. Shout out to Norm Powell, dude. Get him out of the Clippers.
So I'm looking at dunks and threes. James Harden and Desmond Bane actually have identical EPM, 2.6.
Damn.
So true shooting percentage last year. James Harden was at 63. Wow. Bane was at 59. And so that's an apocalyptic scenario for Desmond Bane.
Yeah.
Rim finishing, James Harden was 58%. Ooh, that's the part of his game that's fallen off the
Yeah.
hardest, obviously.
What's the float? Do they have the floater shit on
They
dunks
have
and threes?
they have mid range, and so that was only 41%, and so they said
Okay.
45th percentile. Desmond Bane 42%, 49th percentile. So,
Yeah.
not much going on. But I would obviously prefer James Harden's mid range. I think he kind of cut it out. But then there was that game against the Mavericks, right, where he hit a ton of floaters and like killed
Yeah.
them. So I think he's still got it a little bit. But yeah, and at the rim finishing, Desmond Bane's a little bit better, but obviously not really like a self-creator guy either. And then yeah, they both shot the same exact from three. I don't have the volume here, but they were both at 38.1% from three. And they were both at they both had Harden 88% from the free throw, Desmond Bane 87%. So yeah, it's just coming down to like fading offensive engine versus role player, because like Harden can't get downhill and create anymore, but Desmond Bane never could at the rate that
Yeah.
that Harden can. So
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
I'm fine to go either way.
Harden was 38.1 on 6.8 attempts, and Bane was 38.1 on 8.6 attempts.
Ah,
So yeah, bit of a volume gap there. I don't know. It's tough because, like, yeah, this is like you said, just kind of like a battle of preference at this point. I think, yeah, I think this is the tier of player, but this also like begs the question because, like, if you're just strictly from this point on going like contributions to a high level team, there's some other names on this list where I'm like, okay, well, that guy is probably a better like championship contributor than James Harden as well at
yeah.
this point, but definitely like not even like a Desmond Bane level individual player. So it's a little, I don't know. Position ranking always gets confusing. I never have a consistent criteria, and I'm fucking stupid. So it's just a recipe for disaster, really. Bane. So Harden at 5, Bane at 6 for you. I'll inverse that. I'll go Harden at 6.
And then my 7-8 guys are pretty much a toss up too.
Oh, okay. Is this? Say the names.
Derek White and Drew Holiday.
Okay. Wait. So, God damn it. Yeah. Because all right.
Which one of them would you have Drew as point guard?
I guess that's what they're listed at in Boston.
Wait, did you have him in your top 10?
I have Derek White. I don't have Drew Holiday, and I wouldn't have Drew Holiday top 10. Maybe I would. I wonder. I forget what the back end of my top 10 point guards was. Now I don't even fucking remember. I would definitely have him like honorable mentions because we didn't say him. We didn't say Darius Garland either. I would have him honorable mentions, but I think when we talk about like LaMelo Ball was our 10th spot on point guards, or like that caliber of player was, I think that's still a high level enough offensive engine where it's not like Harden and Bane neck and neck contributions, just depending on scenario. I think Ball, when healthy, probably just like a better player.
Do you think that I would have? There probably are some people who are like,
oh, I'm sure there are.
Hearing that I have those two, that would straight up say no, they're better than Harden and Bane. And
I think I don't know. I think Derek White's better than Drew Holiday.
Yeah, I do too.
I just like at this point, if we're looking at like what they're doing with Boston and everything, I think Derek White's better defensively. He's a better shooter, right? Let me pull up Boston's page.
I think Drew did have a bounce back shooting year, but yeah, I would still lean Derek White.
Shout out to Drew. Totally proved me wrong in the playoffs. I will say that. Like I had a lot
me too.
Less faith in him as like a 3-point shooter and just general offensive player because of what he displayed when Milwaukee, to be fair, asked a lot more of him. He wasn't good when Milwaukee gave him this big on-ball role, goes to Boston, is just asked to, be smart without the ball and hit his 3-pointers, and he does that exceptionally well. So like I don't want to shortchange Drew Holiday, but I do just think Derek White was better for them. 3-pointers wise, fuck. Let me see this. Holiday 43% on 5 attempts, rounding up 4.7. Derek White 39.6 on 6.8 attempts. So considerably more volume. Still nearly a 40% shooter, averaged more points, averaged more assists. I think they're about equal as passers. Like I don't think either one really blows the other one out. Smart, but not like exceptional guys as facilitators.
Yeah. So I just think of both of them as off guards. And so if anybody, I think anybody could argue both those guys over Harden and Bane. So the really the bottom half of this list is completely fluid.
Well, that's the problem. It's like when you get to guys like, I don't know, the back half of this list is guys. They're not bad. But like compared to the rest of the top 10s at other positions, it's not exceptional players.
Who's your 7 and 8?
Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I had Derek White. 7. I had Paul George. Are you considering Paul George a shooting guard?
Oh, you didn't have Harden.
Yeah.
Paul George.
Yeah.
Paul George in my mind was just wing. So I didn't include. Wait. So who are the ones you just said? Paul George and who?
I had Derek White at 7th, and then Paul George at 8th.
Okay. So do you have Jaylen Brown on this list?
No, I have him on the small forwards. To me, he is wing in my brain.
Okay, he was the one I was like, should I include him? I don't know, but yeah.
Dude, if you put 3/5 of the Boston Celtics starting lineup on the top 10 shooting guards list, that'd be so fucking funny, dude.
So Paul George, I'm still Paul George build.
I know you are.
It's hard for me to say Derek White's better because I'm like, what do you mean, you idiot? Could Derek White dunk on Roy or dunk on Chris Bosh?
Holy shit! It was Birdman, and that was 80 years ago, dude. shout out to Paul George. I hope he's healthy. Weird, scary knee injury in the playoffs this week.
Oh, in the preseason.
Yeah. Sorry, not the playoffs. Sorry.
They said he looked zesty when he got hurt.
I know. Jeez, imagine your knee almost completely fucking explodes, and guys are online being like, "This is pretty gay how he's standing in this picture." Like
he was standing like how Harrison Butker stands right before he kicks the field goal.
Yeah. So Paul George, exceptional isolation shot creator still. Like I think he's really good at getting to his spots and hitting difficult shots over contests. Also an exceptional off-ball shooter. I don't have his catch and shoot stuff right here, but I know he was one of the best in the league at it last year, and I would expect that to continue. My questions with him are just like health and burst, because like I know he's good at tough shots. I think, and first of all, his tough shots have fallen off in the playoffs for several years at this point. Like he has gotten worse at those. It hasn't really maintained.
Because they were making him do dirty work. It's not his job.
Well, he's going to have to, because Embiid's not playing back-to-backs, baby. So he's going to have to.
Well, he's not either.
Work. Oh, well, they're going to alternate that. So, yeah.
What if they just never played on the same day?
Yeah. I just think his ability to get to the rim, it's a little iffy. And then his ability to create separation is not great. Like he's hitting tough shots. The shots are tough because he can't get away from his defender, really. And so that's a style of basketball that, I mean, it's sick. It's ball don't stop. He's going to have a field day from like October to February. But you're old. It's hard. The NBA season's a grind. And I think like that style of hoops could become a lot more volatile in the final third of the season. If he's even, I mean, I'm really also concerned about his health. Like if he plays 50 games, I would consider that not a glowing success for Philly, but a success nonetheless.
So I'm trying to pull up his playoff stat. Was he really that bad in the playoffs? I know he was.
I don't think he was. I don't think he was dog shit. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying this is a guy that's been like really good mid-range shooter in the regular season, and I don't think he was that good. Like I don't think it maintains when you ask him. And to be fair, he's not going to be the number 2 guy playing off of a guy like James Harden, who is also not the same version of himself offensively. He'll be playing off of Embiid and Maxey, 2 guys who I think are better offensive players. So the role will be less. Maybe that will contribute to similar to what we saw with Drew Holiday in Boston. Maybe shit gets easier. You start playing better. I just don't think it's a lock. And I like Derek White more. I'm a nerd that way. Like Paul George, this is like really a battle of ideologies where it's like Derek White, absolute fucking dork, geek, bald, never hits any cool step backs or difficult dunk layups, any shit like that. Paul George is built on that, but he doesn't do any of like the dirty work, like you said.
Yeah. So last year, 55% true shooting in the playoffs, 20 points a game, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. So yeah, not his best showing. The thing is, so on EPM,
that's against the Mavericks, right?
Yeah, I think so, right?
And that's a good defense. It's not like one of the best in the. I'd say it's like probably top 7 defense. So there are better ones out there.
It was from the second our friend of the program, slightly biased. He was like, we were the best defense or the second best defense. I forget from the All-Star break post Gafford.
Hey, you know what? Fuck it. Let's give it to him. Let's give Paul George that angle. I'm fine with that. You know that 55% true shooting, 20 points per game.
He was in Derek Jones Jr. cuffs.
Yeah, exactly. And now that guy's on his team. So he sits on the bench, and Derek Jones Jr. can be like, hey, this is how they were defending you. That's how I was defending you. I was scared that you were going to do this and break my coverage.
Wait, did he really go to Philly? Derek Jones Jr.?
Oh, no, he's with the Clippers, and Paul George left the Clippers. That's what happened.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's fun, because then he could do the dirty work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we also should point out, same with Donovan Mitchell. The Clippers were the best team in the NBA, like at the same time. They were just killing everybody.
Mhm.
And Paul George was really good during that stretch. And he actually, let me see, 1, 2, is there a ranking? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He ranked out as the 8th player in EPM last year, like the tied with Kawhi Leonard.
Oh my God.
So it was Embiid, Shea, Luka, Giannis, Jokic, Brunson, LeBron, and then Paul George. So yeah, in the regular season, he was 62% true shooting. So one of the more efficient overall scoring seasons of his career. Rim finishing was okay, mid range is okay. He shot really well from 3 last year. So, and then I think the defense kind of comes and goes at this point, but I still think the high end Paul George defensive games are very good. But I think that also didn't show up in the playoffs. So yeah, it's just he's like All Might at this point. Like sometimes he's in buff mode, sometimes he's not.
I think he's mostly skinny to me. And he's like skinny. I think All Might got like a cool mech towards the end. I haven't finished. I don't know if I even will. I didn't read all of My Hero, but yeah, I guess he got like an Iron Man suit, and so maybe this is like Iron Man suit All Might, and he could still be
I
Prime All
would
Might
like Paul
sometimes.
George to get that.
An Iron Man suit?
Yeah, and well, any kind of superhuman advancements.
Hey, that'd be cool. All right. So we're at an hour. You want to give me what are we at 9?
Yeah,
Who's your 9th?
Jalen Williams, Oklahoma City Thunder.
Ooh, okay. See, to me, again, wing. He's
Better
not on
than
my list.
better than Paul George.
Yeah, absolutely, unquestionably better than Paul George. The timestamps are making this so it looks like we have Paul George ranked above Jalen Williams. Yeah, I just want that on the record. Jalen Williams, dog walks Paul George.
I want it on the record. I could go as high as 5 for Jalen Williams. I'm just not in a position of power right now because he struggled in his last playoff series. So people will be like, "Oh, that guy you like, he's ass in the playoffs," and I have to be like, "For now, whatever,
For now,
whatever.
he's
For now,
21. He's 21. He's a baby.
what for now?" So yeah. What did Dan Hurley say in a UConn edit? He said, "You better get us while we're down because we're something something." Picture me saying that about Jalen Williams.
Hey.
Jalen Williams was one of the best players in the NBA in the regular season, like top 30-ish, 40-ish guy.
Top 20, if you ask
That
friend of the
is not
program, Jackson Frank.
it's not ridiculous to say that. He was just hyper efficient, crazy, doing literally everything, and then he struggled a little bit in a playoff series, but still, I think he's a future superstar, and it's just a matter of when it happens.
It's funny how like your circumstances kind of dictate how I feel about your skills sometimes. Because like Shea, when we're talking about Shea and we're comparing him to Devin Booker, I agree with you where it's like, oh, the passing's not what it could be. But then Jalen Williams here in these conversations, I'm like, his passing's sick, dude. Like for a guy that's like this lengthy and like his passing's so cool. Even though like him versus Shea 1-to-1, it's not like crazy. Like I think Shea's the better passer, but it's not like he blows out Jalen Williams. Yeah, I don't know. If I had Jalen Williams on this list, he's better than Paul George. I think, yeah, you could push him 5 if you really wanted to focus on like the second half of last regular season and then say first playoffs. It's his first playoffs. What can you do about that? What can you expect? But it was pretty tough. He was just like very hesitant. It's not just that like he was not, the efficiency went away. I think like 54% true shooting in the Mavs series, something like that. It was not just that the efficiency went away. It was also that he looked a little bit timid once the Mavs really adjusted their defense to him. And I hope that changes. I hope he's just like fucking letting it fly this year.
67% at the rim in the regular season last year, very good. 49% for mid-range, 88th percentile. Wow. and then 43% from 3, 95th percentile. Wow. So he's like, was he a 50, 40, 90 guy? I don't know what his regular field goal percentage was, but he was just hyper efficient in the regular season.
Yeah.
And that's on top of being huge, like 6'5" or whatever, 7'2" wingspan, and playing really good defense.
I'm so excited. I hope they start the Twin Towers lineup and stagger them. Because I want Jalen Williams at the 3, like, so bad. That, to me, every time I was watching him last year, I was like, if they could just fix this, because, like, he's out of his depth. Like, he's strong, and he's not, like, getting thrown around by other power forwards, but just his body type and the way that he moves and his offensive style of play all really jump out to me as a guy who should, be creating a little bit more from the 3 spot, which I don't know in practice how much his spots are really going to change. I think they were letting him do what he was comfortable with, but it'll just be nice to have him not have the responsibility of being the second biggest guy on the floor. Because that seemed like a tall task for him.
Yeah. And then my number 10, DeMar DeRozan.
Oh, okay. How do you feel? So I have a few more names on here. To me, DeMar DeRozan, I guess he is a shooting guard. He occupies small forward spot in my brain, but in Sacramento, he is a shooting guard. He should be on my list.
And he was very much the engine of the Bulls offense the last year and the past years.
Yeah. So I have to close it out. I guess I would bump Bradley Beal off.
Yeah, I think he's better than Beal right now.
Yeah, agreed. I have Mikal Bridges in New York on my top 10.
He's a wing to me.
Hey, he's starting at the 2, He's starting at the 2. It's Brunson, Bridges, Hart, OG, and Karl Anthony Towns. And then I also had CJ McCollum here, but I think DeMar is better than CJ. So I like Mikal more than DeMar. But I would slot DeMar in between Bridges and CJ McCollum.
What about Levine versus CJ? CJ didn't make my. I did write down a list of people.
Damn. Okay.
What did he do last year? Was he straight? In my mind, he was just straight up bad. Or was he just disappointing for him?
No, the playoffs were tough. The playoffs were difficult, but offensively in the regular season, 43% on 8 attempts a game. He was 20 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds a night on, let me see his true shooting. It's probably not crazy. 59% true shooting. I feel like he was like bad offense or bad defensively, clear positive on the offensive end of the floor. Like really crazy floor spacer. He was not a good closer. He would make a lot of like weird decisions, but the 10th spot on this list, like if we're comparing him to Levine, it wouldn't take Levine showing me a ton for me to entertain that conversation. I just need to see Levine do it again. Like I can't keep operating off of 27 points per game, 50, 40, 90 from 4 years ago.
Did his rim finishing really fall off? I'm trying to find him on this website, but I'm not signed in, so I can't search for him. Yeah. Do you know?
Let me pull up. So tracking. Is it play type? No, that's not it.
Oh, here he is. Oh,
you got it.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
So he played in 66 games last year, and they have him at 51% at the rim, the 5th percentile.
Hey, I'm talking about his 3-point shooting. We got Zion for finishing.
So he's a better 3-point shooter than Levine, better passer than Levine. They're both bad defensively. I would probably prefer Levine because he's bigger, but still they're both bad. And then rim finishing, even with Zach LaVine turning to dust a little bit, I would say he's got to be better than that.
To me, I saw someone say it wouldn't surprise them if LaVine, like with all of his injuries, just kind of like goes the way that Oladipo did, which like I don't know if it'll be that fast, but what if he just never shows it again? What if it's gone?
Well, he's looking a little spry in preseason, but
Hey, you're right. You're right.
I think what separates him from Oladipo is the jump shot. Like Levine is a really high level jump shooter. When someone like Oladipo or like Kemba or like Isaiah Thomas, and
Yeah,
Isaiah Thomas was a really good 3-point shooter that one year, but like
it's just tiny.
when questionable jump shot guys, their athleticism falls off, it hits like a cliff because there's like nothing else. Levine, yeah, Levine has always been a really great shooter.
That's fair.
I think I would, if you ask me right now, I would rather have Levine just to gamble on the finishing upside. But if anyone has CJ, that makes sense too.
Yeah. Again, the bottom half of this list, who the fuck cares? Like it's extremely fluid. Yeah.
And I've
There's-
got one more name that we haven't mentioned.
Okay. I'm just gonna timestamp this as like the rest. All right. Who's your last?
Well, do you have any other names that we haven't mentioned?
No. So my list went Shea, Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Desmond Bane, Derek White, Paul George, Mikal Bridges, DeMar DeRozan, CJ McCollum. And then I wrote a little bit about Beal. Like we could talk about Beal. But who's the name that you got?
Devin Vassell. Does he deserve to be above anybody yet?
I'll say no, but that is me overpowering my heart with my brain. Like I like Vassell. He's cool. And if he's good, that means Wemby's good. It's gonna be cool with them together. And yeah, I think he's like, I don't know. It's not gonna take an otherworldly impossible season to break into this list. Like if you told me there was 2 or 3 names at the back end that were different by the end of the season, that wouldn't surprise me. Do you think Jalen Green deserves to be in these conversations at all?
No, not yet, because he had one good month, really. So
It was cool, dude.
If we're just counting that month,
oh my god,
he's above Anthony Edwards. No, yeah. So Devin Vassell was 20 points a game last year, 4 rebounds, 4 assists on. Oh, he shot 37% from 3 on high volume.
yeah, he was good from 3.
Oh, league average efficiency scoring. So, yeah, so he may not be there. Now, he just popped into my head. Austin Reeves, is he a point guard or a 2 guard? He's kind of
I would say I'd say he's more 2-pilled than D'Angelo Russell is.
Would you take him over anybody that we mentioned?
I would he's been ass in preseason. Last year, I would take him over Devin Vassell. And yeah, I think I would take him over CJ McCollum because like defensively, it's not like Reeves is a world beater, but there is a considerable gap there. And then I just think Reeves is a lot more versatile offensively while still bringing like really solid shooting and floor spacing. It's not, high or mid 40% on over 8 attempts, but it was good. And so, yeah, I'd probably go Reeves over CJ. Anthony Simons, want to shout him out. I wouldn't have him on this list yet. But that's another name that, like, if he has a good year this year, what's stopping him from being the 10th, the 9th guy here if the other guys don't play well?
He is one of the most nuclear shooters in the league. So yeah, we'll see. And maybe Shaedon Sharpe, maybe he gets healthy. Maybe he makes it.
Maybe, maybe anything.
Like, you didn't have to say anything after. You told the whole story with that.
Yeah, I don't know. Sharpe, shout out to Sharpe. Just you want to talk about nuclear athleticism? Oh my god, he glides.
He flies.
But yeah, every time doctors talk about him, I feel like they're just like, this is weird. This is not the way people normally get hurt. This is like unique. And like every time that happens, I'm like, ugh, I don't like that they're saying that about your body, dude.
Well, no, because remember though, post Fauci, they're liars. So
Oh, okay. Damn, that'd be a fun Patreon episode where we take all of like the players' injuries and we kind of make up reasons why doctors are lying about them to prop up the liberal agenda.
they're lying about Kawhi to suppress crypto.
Oh my God, that's what it is. That's what it
Yep.
is. If Southern
Claw
California,
coin. He's gonna drop claw coin, and yeah, they don't want it.
who else is even hurt? Paul George. They're lying about him because Joel Embiid was too patriotic this summer, and that's conservative. And so liberal Anthony Fauci made the call, and they're like, put a wet spot on the floor right there. We're gonna get him.
Joel Embiid is anti-work. He's lazy. Like the
No
rest
one
of his
wants to work.
generation.
No one wants to work anymore.
He's an immigrant who doesn't want to work, and he's getting millions of dollars, and they gave him citizenship, and he went to France.
Oh my God, he went to France on the American taxpayers' dollar. They sent him over there. You paid for it while your kids can't get insulin. Is this fair?
This guy's a French citizen. He's a United States citizen. He's a Cameroon citizen. What is he?
Yeah. Shout out to Tim Walz being in China for the Tiananmen Square massacre.
Well, didn't he lie? Like,
yeah, yeah.
but how far off was it? Was he there like the week after or something? Wasn't it like or he was like there within the time region?
Let me see. When did Tiananmen Square happen? So April 15th to June 4th, 1989. He was there in August of 1989, I believe. So, like, I think
2 months after?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Not the craziest of the lot. I get the vibe. I get it what he's going for. Unless he didn't claim to be there, right? Like at the square.
I don't think so. But even if he did, I don't know. Like the other side,
I saw the tank man. I was like, whoa.
the other, like Donald Trump's lie about that would be like, I shook hands with the tank man and I said you should go take a stand in front of those.
No, I told him don't get in front of those tanks. Those are big scary tanks. They'll blow you away for a second. He was very, very brave man. He said, no, I don't want to go, or I'm gonna go stand in front of him. Crazy.
Brave but stupid. I don't like losers. This guy, he lost to the tanks. Yeah.
We still don't know what happened to that guy, right?
I would assume he got. Let's be positive here.
Well, people came and snatched him up like away from the tank, and so in my history class documentary about him, they say we don't know who those people were. We don't know if they were Chinese agents or if they were other civilians who were like, bro, it's not worth it. Let's get out of here. And we don't know anything that happened since. But also, history class is a lot of times not canon. So who knows what happened. If you know what happened to Tank Man, comment down below. And comment down below your point guard criteria, you slut.
Yeah. Have you ever heard about Killdozer?
No.
Oh, it's like this guy in... Damn, I want to say like... Let me see. Killdozer. Damn, where was he from? Colorado. It's this guy in Colorado who stole like a bulldozer and he welded like 6-inch thick concrete slabs to all of the outside of the bulldozer, and he went on like a huge rampage in downtown Colorado, like straight up terrorism shit. And they had to like call
in. Did he kill anyone?
I think.
Wait, was this like early 2010s? This wasn't that long ago, was it, or no?
It was in 2004.
Oh, I'm thinking of the guy who stole a tank. It was just driving the tank. No, I don't know about this bulldozer. Yeah. Wait, he killed how many people?
I don't know. It doesn't say. I'm trying to find it. Like, just
if he didn't kill anyone, he might be a hero.
I remember he's not a hero. He's stupid. Especially his justification is like, they wouldn't let me legalize gambling in this fucking county. God, the government's so fucking insane. They just, God, the Uncle Sam won't let me do anything anymore. And so then he went and modified a bulldozer to like ruin a small town. But I do think it kills. Did Killdozer talk real quick?
You know who conservatives really, really like? Is that one guy who stole the plane and then was like on air traffic
Mhm.
control, and he's like, "Sorry, I ruined my life. I don't want anyone to get hurt." And like that guy's an interesting guy, but like they stand him. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's a little. Yeah, I don't know. Like,
It's as far as standing goes, he only killed himself, right? So I'm
mhm.
okay with that.
They so did Killdozer guy. I guess it says no one. He didn't kill anyone. He just like he ran over like a bunch of stores and stuff.
Depending on which store is this based.
Yeah. All right. Damn, dude. Imagine
Or
being
if
the
he
plane.
ran over my favorite Thai place. Oh,
Oh, ooh, that
imagine
sounds
being
kind
what?
of good, dude. I got fucked. You know how we talked about ordering DoorDash last time?
Yeah.
I got obliterated, and they didn't mess with my food or anything. It was just a terrible. It was like $25. The picture looked so good. I was like, damn, this burger looks sick. It was like a school lunch with a canned Sprite that was warm. I was so fucking pissed. But there's nothing you can do. You can't be like, the
There's no
picture was
humans that
wrong.
work at DoorDash.
Yeah,
That you
yeah.
can't call them up.
It's just Johnny DoorDash on his yacht off the fucking Amalfi Coast, laughing because he swindled me with an AI generated picture of a hamburger. Uh,
Oh, was it a ghost kitchen, do you think?
it seemed like it. That's the vibes it was
Mm.
giving. But yeah, shout out to All About Burger in Washington. That's the good burger spot. I
Oh,
should have just ordered from them. Big ass burger, big ass. They give you like the Five Guys cup of fries in a paper bag.
oh.
It's just like overflowing.
Oh, I haven't had Five Guys in forever.
Yeah. So shout out to that. Any other names you want to talk about for shooting guard? I don't got shit left on my thing. I would have had Kyrie on here. I was gonna say that, but we talked about him in the point guard episode. Uh, and then Brandon Miller and Andrew Nemhard are just names that I wrote down. Like I think could be
Oh,
really high
Nemhard's a
level.
good one.
Yeah. End of the year. Maybe if we revisit this, who knows? Who knows?
Better than Beal? End the episode. End the episode.
End the episode. Hey, Beal, I wrote stuff down about him. You know, the stats looked a lot better than my eye test remembered. I'll say that much, but not top 10. Fuck him. Pau Gasol? Pau Gasol, are you there?
Reed Shepard.
Reed Shepard? He's a point guard.
End the
Dude.
end the
You know
episode.
that.
End the
He
episode.
initiates the offense, dude.
End the episode.
He
He's,
guards
he's
point guards.
Rob Dillingham and him were off ball.
Oh, Pau Gasol, take it away.
Lay down a list of what is wrong